Hi and welcome to this second video in this series of vlogs. My name is Iskander Fernandez, partner and head of BLM's White Collar Crime and Investigations team. You will have in the first episode in this series of videos picked up on the fact that we initially discussed the first forays into an internal investigation and whether or not one should be commenced. We discussed the necessity of holding one, particularly in this current climate and limitations that businesses are going through because of the pandemic and the resultant lockdown. We then discussed the areas that you would consider if you decided to undertake an investigation, particularly looking at the whistleblowing complaint that is made, and importantly, consider the context of that complaint. Moving on from that, we then discussed the internal investigation team, who that should be comprised of, and the various skill sets and experiences that those individuals may well bring to the team. Now, in this particular episode, we will discuss the planning stage. Once you have your team in place, one thing that I would recommend is to have a document which charters the various steps that you intend to undertake during the course of the internal investigation, but keep it as general as possible. Now, the reason for that is you do not want to produce a document which is overly restrictive, because during the course of the investigation, you may well find that certain avenues that you did not consider aren't necessarily documented in that planning document and may well lead you to other avenues that you didn't initially consider. So therefore, use it as a guidance rather than a restrictive document. Now, some issues or questions that you may well want to raise in this document will be things such as witnesses, who those witnesses are, who you intend to speak to, whether or not you're going to need a script in order to undertake the interviews. Now, HR's involvement will be relevant when it comes to this particular stage, because you will need a soft approach to the potential interviewees, which will be best coming from the HR team rather than, say, for example, the legal team. You may well then want to consider issues of data, how that is going to be captured, and what issues you may encounter when attempting to secure that data, particularly, as I mentioned before, the restrictions that are currently placed across businesses. Now, if you intend to share some of the documents that are filtered during the data part of the investigation and disclose them or share them with potential interviewees, you will need to consider how best to do that. My experience and my advice would be to share those documents with the interviewees ahead of the interview to ensure that they are not blindsided during the course of your meeting with them. Now, the last thing that you will want to have at the end of the investigation period, or even during the investigation period, is to have someone criticize the approach that you took and the fact that they were simply made to answer questions on certain pieces of information that was put to them, and they really didn't have much time to plan their answer or address them as fully as they possibly could.